Hey guys, I'm going to show you how to do a blackened steel patina today on some of these pieces, 16 gauge mild steel, using Sculpt Nouveau, just this darkening patina. So first I'm going to sand these pieces down. I'm going to start at 150 grit, and then I'm just going to sand it up to 220 and hit it with a little Scotch-Brite to make sure that the patina can go on evenly and it's allowed to absorb into the steel. When you're handling the steel, you want to make sure you've got a clean pair of gloves on. Any fingerprints, grease on the surface is going to screw up your patina. The solution won't absorb into the steel in those spots. And any imperfections in the steel are going to show up in the finished patina. You're not going to be able to cover up scratches or anything like that. So these all look pretty even, sanded. Hit them with a little bit of Scotch-Brite. A few different ways you can apply patina. I just started to like the brush method. Brush my patina and start brushing it onto the steel. Try and get the finish as even as you can with the brush. And you can go back and work it in a little bit with some Scotch-Brite to even it out. The more even it is with the brush, the easier you're finding it out. Very light stuff, but you don't put too much of that, so it's not and place it. After you rinse the patina off and wipe them down to where they're pretty much dry, you don't want to leave too much water on because it'll start to rust very quickly. So you want to rinse it and then continue to lightly wipe it down with a rag until it's just about dry. And you can let it air dry a little bit, but that's a pretty even finish for blackening steel. I'm going to come back now with another piece of very fine Scotch-Brite, different piece than the original one you used, because that one's still going to be wet and you don't want to get any more patina streaks or water on your finished piece here, because that'll ruin your finish. It'll put really dark streaks in one spot that you won't be able to blend back in. Very light pressure now, just to even out some of these dark spots. If you go too much, you're going to pull the color out really quickly. Very happy with that. Let it sit for a little bit and make sure there's no moisture in these holes and on the edges before I clear coat it, but you don't want to wait too long because the finish will change and it'll start to oxidize if it's left raw. Got my pieces on the rack here. I'm going to be spraying them with this Clear Guard lacquer also by Sculpt Nouveau. Used a couple different lacquers for this. This one is more affordable than some and seems to work really well, so this is what I go with. You want to make sure with your first coat, don't go so heavy that it drips, but you want to saturate the patina, otherwise you're going to end up with a splotchy finish. So, you know, some light passes, but make sure you go over the whole piece and saturate the entire thing so that you get an even finish on it. Last step, something that I like to do just for a little added layer of protection after I let my 2 coats of lacquer cure, is I add a very thin layer of Caranuba wax. The goal here is not to apply the wax on the surface and then buff it off later. You want to just apply a very thin layer that doesn't need to be buffed off, something that you can just harden on the surface and just add a little bit of protection. So here's our finished steel river side tables, the Blackened Steel panels. Couple of things to keep in mind when you are going to be trying to do some blackened steel. Make sure that your surface prep is good and even, and you've got a nice even texture on the surface before you apply the patina. Make sure everything is super clean. Make sure the surface is clean. Make sure you've got clean gloves on, a bunch of clean rags because you're going to use a lot of them, and just make sure your work area is clean. You don't want dust or grease or anything getting on your surface because it'll contaminate it and it'll screw up your finish. You know, and just get some scraps together and, you know, prep them, sand them down, and play with it for a little bit, because it's going to take some trial and error to get the finish to where you're happy to. And just, you know, you can always sand the piece back down and reapply if you over apply the finish, or if you're not happy with how it comes out. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.